Thanks, everyone. Ikbal Lubys, everybody.
Yeah, thank you, Birchall.
Nice. Thanks so much, everyone. Thanks for coming out on a really rainy day as well, and being with us. So I guess we'll talk really briefly about just some of the things we've put together here we're performing with, and then if anyone has questions or things they want to check in with us about, that'd be really nice. So the kind of idea of this project was that we're both guitar players, experimental guitar players, so then we're trying to think about ways to make energy from like the motion of playing. So like some of that energy that's lost through physicality, through shifting, making sounds, the kind of tension that's there. So we kind of came at that from slightly different angles. So my first thought of call was to use these. Violet, she doesn't like this bit, does she? Me talking. But music's much better, and I agree. Yeah.
When
So-
he plays, he plays pretty well.
Yeah, this is it. This is the thing, isn't it? Yeah. Should have just stuck to that. So my first thing I started exploring was using these contact mics, these piezo discs. So these things, I usually use these as tiny microphones to attach to pieces of metal and then hit them, and it makes an exciting sound. That's my usual approach to them. But actually these things sort of operate as really small momentary triggers. So if you, as I'm doing, it's not going to work now because I've disconnected it, but as I'm doing in that performance, when you're like applying pressure to them, they're giving 1 or 2 volts every time you tap it in the output, just for a moment, but then it's enough to turn an LED on. So that was kind of one of my sort of departure points with it, this sort of stuff. And then we were exploring with huge arrays of contours. I think sort of had about 10 of them lined up at one point, and then we realised that was going to give us 20 volts, and that was too much, so we had to like scale it down again. But then also playing with motors too. So the other mechanical thing I've got here is just a really simple motor, and just that motion there starts to give some light with the LEDs there. And this was really fun because obviously it means you can kind of use this as a slide, and then you're getting a little bit of the electro-mechanical sound of it through the pickups too, this kind of pew pew sound, which is quite a fun one. So Ikbal approached it slightly differently.
Yeah, I have a thinking about not waste the motion of playing guitar. So it's I use the dynamo from bicycle. So while I'm playing drone, like I make a drone from guitar, so it's spinning the motor and send the energy to the light. Also from this thing is came out from the guitar, goes to the amps, and the vibration create the drone to vibrating the string, so it makes the circle thing. Yeah. So the sound is generate this amp, the amp make the sound. So it doesn't waste the energy. So that's what the idea.
Yeah, trying to fold back as much.
Trying to give back
like
the energy,
physical and like sonic energy.
And this is still our on progress work, so it's not the final yet. Yeah, we're still thinking a lot of things. So we want to create also the piezo on the motor can charge the battery to run this kind of amp.
Yeah, that was the dream, wasn't it?
Yeah.
We realised it's kind of impossible, so there might be a performance at some point where we're like turning motors for about an hour to charge an amplifier, and then eventually after an hour we could start playing. And then we have to stop every now and again to recharge or encourage audience members to like to get involved with recharging it. So that would be a durational piece to generate the electricity to play it.
And it makes us like a really different way to play guitar, not always thinking about how a song can produce, but how also in the same time energy can produce.
Yeah, it's fun. So so we sort of have developed techniques, and we both play the guitar, and usually anyway, but because we've attached things and added new things to it, it's kind of given us like a new vocabulary that's tied to the way that we're trying to make power.
Yeah.
We're trying to capture that, and then it's given us sort of new sounds and possible things to do. Yeah, I think that's probably about it.
Yeah.
do come and have a look closer if you want to see, or if you have any questions. Feel free to ask.
When you're moving the flashlight,
Oh yeah, we can talk about that.
how does that create the sound? Because you were just sort of moving it over the strings, and then it was.
Yeah, so it's like a electromechanical effect. So the guitar pickups, so there's a piece of steel and then there's copper wound around it, and that creates like a small magnetic field. And then when that's interrupted by a guitar string, it translates the sound. But you can interrupt that field with anything that's electromechanical. So something like this, or the flash.
Because that's
Charging up. So it's like charging up sound. And the firing, it wasn't really, I think my batteries are a bit flat, but you've probably heard it on Ikbal's one, and also the mechanical firing sound is picked up by it as well.
Yeah, I recognise the sound.
Yeah, you get the same thing with a phone. If you put a phone on top of the pickups, you get all the kind of electric interference. Yeah, it's fun, like pitching it down, like so down a bit too. Yeah.
Yeah, when just the battery is charging, that just create the sound like. And then when it's full, just need to release and coming back. Like
Are those yellow lights also flash sort of thing as well?
the which one?
These with the yellow covered with the LEDs.
No, they're all bicycle lamps.
Oh,
Actually,
right.
they're just yellow. They're just very yellow. Yeah. There's a reflector in there, and then the yellow. Yeah. They're kind of vintage lamps. Same with the dynamos.
In terms of the performance, how much of it is any of it predetermined? Have you decided certain things are going to happen within the structure?
Yeah, so there's like a broad structure of it that was agreed and rehearsed. Like the entry point, using smaller things and focusing on these sort of sounds, bringing it out to the larger amplifiers, and then there's kind of a bit of a rough idea of like what structure and like what things come and then how it ends. But a lot of the detail is improvised. We're both very keen on improvising, but we're like, but as we were making the stuff and then starting to play together, we kind of discovered quite quickly there's like maybe 6 or 7 things that we like that kind of translate the kind of idea and also sound good. So we're like, we need to make sure those sound good to us anyway. Like make sure they're in there.
At the end when you were coming out and then the natural sounds were coming that was it. As soon as we were here on Friday, we were like, it's really quiet and lovely there, isn't it? So we've got to sort of fold that into some of the performance.
And also we got the studio version, like in the dark, so filming by Clive.
That's right. Yeah.
So everything is more visible in the dark.
When I close my eyes, I see colour when we play.
Color.
Yeah,
wow.
synesthesia type
Oh,
thing.
beautiful.
So when you were having long notes, sustained notes, that's when I really get the colour, and they were really fantastic.
Oh, lovely. Oh, I'm so glad.
Nobody else had a synesthesia. Not quite.
That sounds great though. Yeah, I sort of wish I do, but I don't.
I
Yeah.
at the same time.
Right.
So I could actually, I was thinking to write, I can't be bothered to write down all the names of the colours I saw, but it was really,
Cool.
really good. Just, it was the undertone, it was not your movements, you know.
Yeah.
So it was
There's some really rich sort of harmonic stuff happening
you're
isn't
right.
there, with this. Yeah. That's cool.
Ritual to know, but I'm
Yeah,
glad that
thank you.
nobody else had it.
There might be a secret synesthete somewhere,
Well,
but
when
they're
you
shy.
said in the
aren't they?
dark, I mean, that's ideal. That's
Yeah,
when
because then the
I-
light,
yeah,
the
the
light
light
thing
is
becomes a
really
little bit
more,
more
yeah.
obvious then
you
as
know,
well. Yeah,
when it's
it's
dark,
yeah.
then I get it. The light changes it.
We've got 2 versions now, haven't we?
Yeah, in the dark and in the daytime version. I think they'll both be on the Curious Ear YouTube at some point if you want to see it in the dark version. Yeah. Okay.
I wondered if the plants had a role to play. I couldn't see
this-
everything, so
yeah.
I wondered.
Oh, it's just scrapped because it's same plan we talk about. Like
Yeah. So do you want to tell a little bit about your other project?
actually, it's outside of this project. It's called Artemisia.
Kelly's the friend who hipped me to this in the first place. Yeah.
Yeah, I have some other project with this, so I just on purpose I just put it here.
Yeah. It's like a dream composition project. So as part of it, Iqbal's used the mugwort tea to get himself and other
what
people.
called it?
It's called
Mugwort.
mugwort. It's the common name in English.
Artemisia.
Artemisia.
Such a lovely word.
Yeah.
And
Yeah,
people
yeah.
used to do long walks and put that in their shoes to protect them.
In the shoes?
In the shoes,
Ah.
yeah.
Yeah.
There's a whole
I
load
just
of
realised.
folklore
Yeah,
around
yeah.
Yeah,
Artemisia.
it's interesting. But it was funny because we talked about it a bunch of times, and I was like, "Yeah, I know a plant that gives you funny dreams. It's called mugwort." When I got home, I was like, "Oh yeah, it's the same plant.
Same
Yeah.
plant, yeah.
And
Different
it's
name.
growing here in a few places."
Yeah,
So
spotted it.
yeah,
I thought maybe
Nice.
you cooked it up somehow to get some power from it.
yeah. That could be the next
Next
stage.
time.
Next
The
time.
next stage of the development. Yeah.
Did you deliberately set a constraint on the amount of energy that you wanted to use? Because you said earlier that 20 volts would have been too much. And I'm curious about
Right. Yeah, so there's just a practical thing in terms of the LEDs. The things like these have like actually a really low operating voltage. So they turn on at about 0.7 volts, and I'm not actually sure what the top limit of them would be. Probably not more than 9 volts. So if you're giving them too much power, they could just
Oh, I
burn out.
see. Oh,
Basically,
right.
yeah. So you kind of generally with like. So like the batteries are sort of 1.5 to 9 volts, so that was the sort of operating thing we were looking at. But it was exciting because we were getting that voltage, but just for a split, because it's on the impact, so the voltage is present and then it goes. So this is one of like the future research things, is to look at how to capture some of that voltage. So in theory you could, through using these triggers for quite some time, you could build up and store enough of a voltage that the actual playing motion could be charging a battery, which is then like
On the
continually
real
sort of
time.
feeding. Yeah. We might do an actual electrical engineer on the team to do
Yes.
that.
Yeah.
Kind of proved it works.
Yeah,
So then we're
yeah.
like,
Probably
yeah.
find someone who's doing a PhD at the university.
Right, exactly. Yeah, exactly.
Yeah, I began to wonder, because much of the music sounded, it kind of opened my mind to natural
wow.
things, and particularly when there's something that sounded like bird song that came in. I'm not sure how you made that noise, but that made me think, oh yeah, so when you hear things like birds, that sound carries energy, just how it comes through the air. And then I began, my mind was just drifting around. And I was thinking, well, they could make energy out of lemons, for example.
Yeah,
Yeah.
plastic
Wow.
battery,
Yes,
yeah.
yes.
Water and so on. You can actually generate a small current. And then I was looking at that plant there. I didn't realise it was mugwort. Well, if you put an electrode at each end, would that generate enough current to just hear what that sounds like? Anyway, these are just random.
Yeah, well, it's
thoughts.
interesting. I mean, if you can make an earth battery with like
Yeah.
2 different metals that gives you enough just by putting two anodes in the ground, and that will give you enough light to turn on an LED electrode very briefly.
And also we talk about the next. I mean, we have a plan to long durational performance, like a 4 hour, until we got to really sweaty, so we can use the sweat as the acid to create. I asked some friends of chemical thing. Oh, it's possible, but we are not a scientist, so we just have an idea.
Help harnessing our sweat.
Yeah. But also then, okay, so for example, my friend is using AI to try to understand birdsong, to decipher that language, and also dolphins and whales. Well, people have been trying to do that for a long time. You think, okay, so but some of the music that you were playing sounded a bit like whale song, for example.
Sure.
I started again, my mind was just drifting around. Well, could I understand the language in which this music is talking?
Interesting,
Or maybe it doesn't translate into human language, but it certainly translates into some kind of thing.
I think there's like an emotional content, isn't there? I think that's the key thing for me with music. Is it's like, there's always like an emotional reaction, but there's still some ambiguity in it. I think that's Yeah, that's one of the key things to me.
Well, maybe that's what means music rather than some computer readout of
Sure,
sure,
for
yeah.
example.
Yeah, and I think the thing with it as well is just because you can't really hear it so well now, but like using very low, it's like the register that we're both working in. So
Yeah.
the guitar is normally like kind of in the middle of the register, but we don't down tune it.
Down
quite a lot.
tuning.
So you get this lower sound, these sort of lower sounds, which are more like the whale song sort of universe, and then the higher things are maybe when I'm using this like picking. So I'm shortening the string length to be like very, very short, so then it's kind of pitched it up. But I think that's sort of part of both of our practice to try and extend like the actual pitch range of it into kind of more animal ranges maybe.
Yeah, or the noise of trees, for example.
Yeah.
We also tried that.
You can say you also wanted to kind of recuperate the energy and the gestures of making music.
Yeah.
Because there was one point I think where you were the most sort of gesturally active, the two of you. I can't quite remember exactly what was happening, but I think it's something to do with the whisking going on here, and you were pressing on top of
Yeah,
it.
that's right, yeah.
So it kind of looked like
Yeah,
all
yeah.
the gestures you see musicians making. So is that part of this
Yeah,
process as well?
very much so. Yeah. So when I'm doing this kind of pressing, and it's not working so much there, pressing here, it's that's definitely a gesture that's needed to generate the power. So then it's that thing of thinking like, well, okay, how can I start to use this musically? That's something that I wouldn't normally be pressing here on the instrument. So then it's like, how does that start to be used musically as well as a power generating sort of methodology?
There's a lot of recycling going on.
Exactly. Yeah.
Yeah, and usually as a musician, like improvised musician, we got trapped on the habits like while playing guitar, like always like this. Even it called experimental, it sometimes it's always got entrapped.
Sure.
Yeah.
It's got
but
its own.
it's
sort
kind of
things,
get out from the jail with this one because we are not gonna.
Yeah.
We create something. It's not just this music or sound. So we have multi-purposes at.
Yeah, it shifted the focus a lot.
Yeah,
I think
yeah.
that's one thing that was really nice too, was like that the sort of, we were really happy that like the idea of like this kind of circularity making power, circularity of sound, that we could kind of realise the kind of conceptual things like so practically. I think that's something we both kind of enjoy with kind of conceptual thinking, but then really like it's really clear what the idea is in the outcome.
Also, it's really fragile. During the performance, it's always something broken. Also in this time, so in the middle of a performance, we need to think. Oh, well, what is the plan B? What is the plan C? And, So for me, it's another thing of improvisation. Solve the problem, not which one.
Running repairs.
Yes.
We've not had to get the soldering iron out in performance yet, but that could happen. Yeah. Cool. Well, thank you everyone. You're welcome to come and take a closer look. And I think the cafe might still just be open. I think they shut at 3, but yeah. Yeah. Thanks so much. Everyone.
Thank you.